Hopefully this guide won't be as long as my previous few, but I should be able to accomplish that today, as this is probably going to be one of the more straightforward and simple guides that I've ever done. So without any further delay, let's go ahead and get right into this guide. So taking a quick look at my preset, there is not a whole lot going on here. In the worn equipment, we have the full 5-piece custom fit masterwork ranged armor. And as you can see here, I actually do have the equilibrium perk on something. Out of all of the bosses in game, some of these hyper old bosses do make sense with this perk because they have very strict soft caps to where once you start hitting over a certain damage value, your damage is going to be capped significantly, and Nex is one of those bosses that has a very strict soft cap. On Zero's phase, or the last phase of the boss, you're lucky to be doing over 3,800 damage a shot, when in a DS those abilities should be hitting well over 10k. I forget the exact formula of damage reduction, I'm sure someone will put it in the comments, but raising your minimum damage value by 14% is really going to help out on DPS and consistency, because you're going to start headbutting into soft caps very quickly, and there's going to be quite a bit of diminishing return there. So making sure the min hits are doing a bit more damage is going to be very beneficial. For the other perks on this armor set, I have C4R5 and Impatient for Devoted for, and then I just have Ultimatums for Mobile on here, nothing too crazy. I have a Scripture of Full here because normally it's best in slot, but a Grim is going to do diddly squat with the Equilibrium perk. For those who are unaware what Equilibrium does, it increases your ability damage by 6% plus 2% per rank. So on equal 4, 8 plus 6, that's 14. So it's a 14% damage increase, shifting everything up, your minimums, your med damages, your maximum damages, but it prevents you from critically striking. As focusing on crits, that's going to be in the very top half of the damage range, whereas this is focusing everywhere. So like I said before, increasing your min hit values. It's not like the old Equilibrium where it focused on raising the minimum value of your damage output by the flat percent to like kind of make everything hitting the same, but it is helping out a lot in all damage ranges rather than crits working on the top end. My Bow of the Last Guardian has the standard setup. I have not done my separate Bow of the Last Guardians yet. That is soon to come. Someone in the comment section on my ranged DPS video confirmed that flanking bulgs work, so maybe you'll see multiple bulgs in the future on my range guides, but for today you don't have to worry about any of that, as I am just using the standard best in slot setup of Precise 6, Caroming 1, Aftershock 4, Eruptive 2. In the Pernix Quiver, I just have full arrows, there is nothing else. I have a Luck of the Dwarves because, again, Stalker's Ring or Reaver's Ring is going to do diddly squat when Equilibrium is here, and you want a better shot at drops, so you might as well bring the ring that you're going to swap to and just use it. I think if you have the imbued version, you might get better stats on this, but that's really not going to matter too much. The EOF here is just my ECB EOF, nothing to write home about. ECB is very solid at Nex for getting a bunch of hit spam out. It's very useful for doing damage here, and with the full masterwork setup basically making it so we can never get one shot and you can just kind of spam eat through everything, you're going to be able to take quite a good advantage out of this EOF. Then to top it all off, I have my Zuck Cape here. The normal Zuck Cape would work perfectly fine, the green one, but we just want that buffed dead shot. Then moving on to the inventory, we have not a whole lot here. I have 2 Super Guthix brews. If you want to downgrade those to regular Guthix brews, go for it. I have 4 blubbers just to match the number of brew sips that I have compared to how many eats I have on my blubbers. Vuln bombs are pretty straightforward. If you want to bring an overload, go ahead. We did get the POH update and you can just have 60-minute overloads, although I still think salves are not on the list of those that are affected by Lantidime, so if you're worried about saving some cost there, for right now you can just use the overload as is. Vuln bombs are pretty straightforward. The 2 pouches here are just so I have Disrupt and Venge on the Lunar spellbook, and I honestly forget to use Disruption Shield most of the time, so if you don't want to bring the pouches, you honestly could just skip them. The Nexus here is just so I can cast defensives with Bone Shield. I have an Adrenaline Renewal Flask, a Blessed Flask. These should be pretty self-explanatory. I have a Grim Gem here just so if I want to get a Reaper task and max out my Reaper points for the week. This is a boss that is not too bad to just spam out a few Reapers per hour. I believe each task is like 26 points and then it's usually only 10 kills. So you can easily do 2 to 3 Reapers per hour. And then if you really push the perfectionism of these rotations, I think you can get to 4 Reaper tasks an hour, but that's some hyper sweat stuff. I never move fast enough to get to 40 kph here. And last but certainly not least, I have a clear-headed swap on my legs here. And I think these legs can literally be anything because it's only clear-headed that matters. And so I just threw it on my old Anima Core legs of Sliske because that's hybrid armor and it technically goes with anything. But this could be either a random chest piece or a random set of legs that you have in your bank that roughly makes sense. And all clear-headed does is extends the duration of Anticipate, which makes phase 1 a bit nicer, so that way you're not getting drug by Nex. And then for the familiar, I just have a Shadow Nihil here. And for relics, I will be using Zerk Fury, Font of Life, and Heightened Senses is making a return for this guide. Most of the time I run COE, but the beginning rotation doesn't really work if you're on COE, so we'll be using Heightened Senses for that reason. Now, giving credit where credit is due, I got most of this rotation from the PVME here. It is discord.gg/PVME to join the Discord. From Blood Phase on, I do something a bit different that seems to work for me. And my Zeros phases, I just kind of do some random stuff just based off of what I'm feeling and what my adren is doing. But you could follow this verbatim if you want to, and that'll work perfectly fine. I pretty much do up until Blood Phase is completed. But yeah, I just wanted to give credit where credit is due here. Now it mentions here that it's strongly advised to have the Stone of Jazz boost. I have done entire hours where I absolutely forgot to get the Jazz buff and it's worked out pretty much just fine. So if you don't have it, it's not the end of the world. You're still gonna be able to get the Master Timer once you learn the rotation and you're able to see how it works. But I think that's enough yapping. Let's go ahead and get into some example kills. Alrighty, we got the preset loaded up and ready to go. Our god book is on. We're overloaded. We have a darkness multicast going. And so let's just go ahead and do a kill. We'll go through. I've already started an instance, so I'll go ahead and right click rejoin, surge over, and then click the barrier. Then you'll jump down. I like to click on this tile here and then just surge across and then walk over to this tile here and then just wait for the startup sequence, put on my clear-headed swap, wait for 6 seconds here, then imbue shadows, ECB, anticipate, swap back to my custom fit, bulk spec, and then rapid fire. You will want a TC on tick there for target cycle. Click the first minion Fumus and then hit a Greco into a piercing shot and then snapshot next, divert, ECB, snapshot into a Gale Shot. Sometimes Gale Shot won't do it, but other times it will. Greco the minion and then Dead Shot next, and then just go over here. It'll go ahead and phase because of how Dead Shot works, and then here I'll actually Corrupt Blast, ECB into a Pierce Shot. Here I'll just go ahead and just snap my A-Pot and then like maybe a snap and then try and dive with a Bulk Spec. Wasn't enough here, so it is what it is. I'll just hit another Gale Shot. Maybe another ECB, piercing just to get it phased, Greco the minion. And here I'll just kind of do a pierce, maybe into a Dead Shot, another pierce, and then a rapid fire, and that should be the kill. And it is. What did we get? Some seeds. Now, a couple of notes before I go ahead and close out this guide. I changed up the order of operations on that little spawn sequence because there were some very few times where I was having trouble with the Vulned Gricko only taking out Fumus 100% of the time, which would snowball into me getting a drug because Anticipate ran out. So all I did is I put Anticipate later in the rotation, so that way I could just throw a Pierce out and just guarantee that I never get drug in by Nex. And sometimes I've noticed that Snap, ECB, Snap, Gale Shot will not 100% kill Nex on phase 2, so I just throw in an extra piercing shot if needed. It sometimes happens, it sometimes doesn't. If Nex is below 125k and you're pressing your Gale Shot, usually that'll do enough damage to phase. It's kind of the number that I have noticed. And then on Fumus, like I said before, it's important to then Gricko the minion and then use Deadshot to phase into Blood Phase and then surge away over to Cruor, because then she's out of cast distance, meaning she's not able to do her special attack and start the healing sequence where like all damage hits will heal her. And Deadshot with an ECB up should almost always insta phase her. Sometimes you might have to wait an extra tick or two, but it should always phase her and then kill the minion. Sometimes on Cruor, she will melee distance you, as in she will actually chase you to melee distance, because the way she works is if she's in attack range, then she can do a special attack, but if she's not in attack range, then she can't. So sometimes she will just stop here and do a Siphon will solve this, and then you maybe have to deal with an Ice Prism. There's some fancy tech in order to do enough damage to phase her and get over to Glacies here, and then you'll be able to target cycle. You can't click Glacies if she's phased, but target cycle works for some reason. And all of these different like kind of if and or statements, or it depends, because sometimes things happen, sometimes things don't. This is just a relic of hyper old bosses from completely different eras. They have their charm, they have their uniqueness. Some would call it jankiness, which it's kind of fair. But once you start doing this boss, you do a few hours and you get used to it, you'll be able to just start cranking out the kills and hopefully getting that boss log complete, getting that master timer if you need it, or going for funny KC numbers like I need to get 60 more here. And that's all I really have to say about that.